to the course Programming Language Concept. In today's lecture, we're going to talk about the switch statement. As you all know that in previous lecture, we talked about the control structure. We started with the if statement, then we discussed if else statement. We also discussed nested if else statement, and we discussed the nested else if ladder. There were some problems in nested if else, if you still remember. These problems are basically can be removed with the help of switch statement, because we discussed this point that the drawbacks of nested if else statement can be removed by either using logical operator or using switch statement. We have already covered the logical operator part. Now we're going to come to the next part, and that is the switch statement. So switch statement is, again, it is just like nested if else. If there are many conditions and we want to execute one particular statement upon the true condition, then in that case we use switch statement. These are the topics that we are going to discuss in today's session. Switch statement, we will discuss syntax, and then we'll talk about the switch statement flowchart, break statement, and then switch statement advantages. References, you can find this topic in detail how to program, and then Robert Leff for object oriented programming, chapter number 3. The objectives and outcomes, as you all know that the objective of this chapter is to introduce you to the idea of control structure, because we are still in the control structure, and the outcomes. So by the end of this lecture, students should be able to understand and analyze switch statement, understand the syntax of switch statement, analyze switch statement flowchart. Students should be able to analyze this the switch statement flowchart, and at the end you can apply all these different switch statement concept into your program. So let's talk about the switch statement itself. That what is switch statement? Basically switch, you can see the switch, this is keyword, okay? Keep this thing in your mind. So the switch statement is another conditional structure, just like if statement, or just like if structure, or if else, or nested if else, or if else if ladder. This is also a conditional structure. Now the control statement that allows us to make a decision. So basically switch statement is what? It is the control statement that allows us to make a decision from the number of choices. It is basically called a switch statement. Just like nested if else, as I told you, nested if else or if else if ladder is used when there are too many conditions and we want to execute particular condition, then we can use the nested if else. So the same way, if we have number of choices and we want to select one particular choice, then we can use switch statement. So this can be used as alternative to nested if else, or more correctly a switch case default. Now all of them are what? They are actually the keywords. Switch is a keyword, case is a keyword, and default is a keyword. We are going to use them in our program when we are going to write a program using switch statement. Since these three keywords go together to make up the control statement, as I discussed, that these three keywords would be used for making a complete switch statement program. It is a good alternative of nested if else. Now it can be used easily when there are many choices available and only one should be executed. We have discussed this point earlier, that if there are too many conditions and we want to select one, then we can use this switch statement, because it can be used as an alternative to nested if else. Nested if else becomes very difficult in such situation. You have seen the some of the drawbacks or the problems in nested if else in our previous lecture. That's why you can use the nested if else. Instead of nested if else, you can use switch statement. Now this is the general syntax of the switch statement. Remember, switch is a keyword, and then you have to use parenthesis. In the parenthesis you can use expression. Fine. Now case 1 and then case 2, case 3, default. Now this case is also a keyword. This default is also a keyword. So basically how this works, first of all, this expression will be evaluated. Fine. Then this expression will be compared with each of these cases. If any of these cases is matched with this expression, then that particular statement will be executed. Or if none of these cases are matched with this expression, then default would be executed. It is just like we use else in nested if else statement. Like if none of the condition, or if none of the if condition is true, then at the end we put else. So this works as default, works as that, like that. Okay, this default is a keyword. Fine. Let me write a simple program using this syntax. We're going to look at another syntax as well, but we discussed so far that switch statement executes one particular statement if we have number of conditions. So let's try to write a simple program. Hash include iostream using namespace std. Okay, first of all, let's suppose integer a, and we put here 2. So I have initialized a variable, and that variable is a, and with the value of 2. So let's try to use switch here. Switch. Now in the switch, inside the parenthesis in the expression, I put 2. Fine. And then I need to use these curly brackets. Okay, opening bracket and closing bracket. Fine. So let's try to use cases, different cases, because this is integer. That's why these cases should be an integer. Okay, if this expression is matched with case 1, then execute this is case 1. Fine. Similarly, case 2, so cout, this is case 2. Case 3, cout, this is case 3. And let's try to write another case. This is case 4. And at the end we're going to use a default statement. Wrong choice. Fine. So let's try to understand this program, and then we're going to run the program. You can see I have initialized a variable a with a value 2. Fine. And then in the expression I put this variable a here. So switch a, now switch is a keyword. This keyword is used whenever you are writing a program using switch statement. Here this expression will be evaluated. In a I have stored 2. So first of all, case 1 will be compared with this expression because it is evaluated to 2. That's why case 1 in a I have stored 2, so it is not matched because 1 is not equal to 2 in simple words. So this statement will be ignored and the control will transfer to this case 2. Now the moment the compiler see that there is a match with this case 2, that's why this statement will be executed. Fine. So let's try to run this program and see the result. You can see this is case 2. Let me put this slash in here in order to slash in. And now let's try to run this program. Oops, you can see that here we, after this case 2, like the remaining statements are executed. Now there is a problem, and we will see that how can we overcome this problem. But for now, think about this program and see that what could be the the solution in this program. So let's go back to the slide. Now these are the slides. We have already covered this point, that switch, there is expression. So this expression will be compared with each of the following cases. If case 1 is matched with expression, then this statement will be executed. If case 2 is matched with this expression, then this statement will be, because there are a number of cases, in each of these cases will be compared with the expression we have in the parenthesis. If none of these cases are matched with this expression, then obviously the default statement will be executed. So let's try to look at some of the points. Here, the number 1 point says that expression in the parenthesis may be int or char type. This expression, we're talking about this expression, it may be of integer type, it may be of char type. You cannot use float here. The control will go to that case with the number of which the expression matches. As I told you that here, if any of this case is matched, the control will directly move to that particular case. Each case will consist of one or more statement. Now here, like in case 1, you can put more statement. In case 2, you can put more statement. Similarly, in case 3, you can put more statement, or you can simply put one statement. Excuse me. If there are more than one statement in a case, then no need of enclosing them in curly brackets. Again, you can get rid of those curly brackets if you're using switch statement instead of nested if else statement. If the cases are represented by numbers, then there must be an integer expression inside the switch. Because here these cases are represented as numbers, that's why the expression here must be of integer type. If these cases are represented using some characters, then this expression must be a character. If the cases are represented by characters, then the switch statement must produce a character value. No float value is allowed to represent the case. It is not necessary that the cases must be in proper sequence. It is just like, it's not necessary that the first case must be 1 or 2 or 3. You can put case 3 here instead of 1, or you can put case 1 in between case 3 and case 2. So the order is not necessary, the order of these cases. When control comes inside a case statement, it will execute the statement of that cases and the statement of all subsequent next cases. As you have seen in the program, that when the control, because case 2 was matched, that's why case 2 along with case 3, 4 and default was also executed. If no match occurs with case, then default case will be executed. So keep these things in your mind about the switch statement. And now let's go back to our program that we wrote using a switch statement. Basically, the problem was that we did not use break statement. Remember, break statement is very important in switch statement. A switch statement is incomplete without break statement. That's why you have to use break statement in the switch statement. The break statement takes the control outside the body of the switch statement or from the body of the loop. We will talk about this body of the loop, but for now, because we are only concerned with switch statement, that's why we are going to use this. So the moment a particular case is matched with expression, then break statement will move the control outside the body of the switch statement. Point number 2 is in switch. As in switch, if we do not put the break statement at the end of each case, then compiler will execute that case along with subsequent following cases. You have seen this when I wrote a program, that the matched case was also executed, and similarly the subsequent cases were also executed. In order to execute just that particular case with which the expression get match, we must put break statement at the end of each case. Keep this thing in your mind, that if you want only one statement to be executed, then you need to use the break statement. There is no need to put break statement at the end of default case, as after default case the control will automatically go outside the switch body. So there is no need to put the break statement in the default case. Now this is the flow chart. You can see from here, start, okay, case 1. If case 1 is matched with the switch expression, then this statement will be executed and program will be terminated. Then no, if no, then case 2. If case 2 is matched with expression, then statement 2 will be executed. Similarly, if this is also not matched with expression, case 3 will be executed. And if case 3 is matched with expression, then statement 3 will be executed. If again the case 3 is also not matched, then case 4 will be or maybe in this case default statement or case 4 would be executed. Now here you can see these different syntax along with this flow chart. This is switch choice, okay, case 1. Now case 1 is this. If choice is 1, then statement 1 will be executed. And then after executing statement 1, break statement will take the control out of the body of the switch statement. Similarly, case 2, if case 2 is matched, okay, this is case 2, yes, statement 2 will be executed, and then break statement. Well, so this way you can use the program using switch statement, or you can write the program using switch statement. Switch expression, and then case 1. After this we have this statement 1, and then we have the break statement. After this, case 3. So statement 3 will be case 3 will be compared with this expression. If this case 3 is matched with expression, then statement 3 will be printed, or break statement will take the control out of the body of the switch statement. This is the body of the switch statement. Or the default statement, if none of these cases is matched with this expression, then obviously default statement will be executed, and that may be, let's suppose statement 4 is executed. Now these are the advantages of a switch statement. Advantages of a switch statement: no care requires for level of indentation. Keep this thing in your mind. It's not like nested if else statement where you have to take the level of indentation into consideration. Second point, no care requires for putting corresponding closing bracket for an opening bracket. Now keep this thing in your mind as well, that you don't need to worry about the closing bracket or about the opening brackets. Number 3, no care needs for putting an else for corresponding if. You will get rid of these corresponding if or else part, and vice versa. Fine. The fourth point, or the last point, is that the program is more readable with switch statement. So you can use the switch statement and the program would be more readable as compared to nested if else, because the program you write using switch statement would increase the understandability of the code. So thank you very much. I hope that you have got the main idea behind the switch statement. Let me summarize that what we discussed in this session. First of all, we talked about the switch statement, that it is also a sort of a conditional structure, just like if or if else and nested if else. Because there were some drawbacks in nested if else, that's why we have to remove those drawbacks, and we discussed two alternatives. One alternative was to use logical operator, and the other one was to use the switch statement. So switch statement is basically, we also discussed the switch statement structure or the syntax.